Hey up. Who's up for more Millennium trash then? You know you are. You love it. This episode, we're checking out Cannibal Detour Hell's Highway. Also just known as Detour, a much easier name to say. This is a 2003 direct-to-video horror film directed by Steve Taylor, not Steve Tyler, who it looks like this sort of thing is his forte. Looking at his credits on IMDb, it looks like he mainly just makes knockoff horror films. Things like Secret Craft or the more recent Sludge. And they've all got pretty bad ratings on IMDb. The film doesn't really star any names. Most of the people who are in this have only been in this. Never a good sign. That is apart from Tiffany Shepis, I believe her name is. Now she has like over 150 credits on IMDb. But I did notice that she was in the film we covered last episode, Cannibal Dead the Ghouls, I believe it was called. Cannibal Dead the Ghouls. And that's not a good sign, to be honest, because that film was terrible. So, if I had to guess, this looks like some sort of I Know What You Did Last Summer crossed with maybe Wrong Turn, judging by the title. Knockoff? I don't know. But let's have a look, shall we? Ain't nothing but a loose thing, baby. Whack!
What the hell do you want?
Yeah, does this pump work? We need some gas.
It's a gas station, ain't it?
Yeah, and
Didn't the nasty witch give pretty Snow White an apple?
somebody's been visiting Frown Town.
After the first title card, we meet 7 teenagers who are out in the middle of the desert at a rave. Another title card later, and these teenagers are on the road. They ignore the advice of an attendant to turn back and go home, and instead head further into the desert to look for gold, money, something like that. But, as you can probably imagine, they get stranded and attacked by cannibals. Will they survive the night? Do we want them to survive the night? No, we don't. Something I will say good, positive about this film is that it does keep its energy up for the 87-minute runtime. One of the longer films we've seen in a while, to be honest. And it avoids that typical low-budget halfway dip, which is saying something for this film. Unfortunately though, it feels a little too done. It's something that we've all seen before. It's not original, unfortunately, and it doesn't really make it feel worth the time, really. This film sort of ends as well at 82 minutes, and then we have a painfully slow credit crawl, which again is cheating. And then in the last minute or so, we get one blooper, and then it just sort of finishes, which, yeah, it just turns into a bit of a mess at the end.
I love big, hairy man ass!
Oh my god, it's rotten. It looks like some sort of animal hide or something.
Look at it. It looks more like human hair.
Yeah, that's right, Pimp Daddy. Just showing some steel, send those bitches running.
You seen The Hills Have Eyes before? Then you've basically seen this film, because it just copies that pretty much beat for beat, apart from it's tainted with the funk of Millennium trash. The acting is bad. The characters, I would give these an award for the most irritating cast of teenagers in a horror film that I have ever seen. And sure, that's a bit of a stereotype, isn't it? Teenagers that are annoying in horror films, these take the cake. They are all one-note stereotypes who never shut the hell up. They are all examples of the worst parts of the early 2000s, in my opinion. You can't root for any of them, and you're not even just waiting for them to die, you're hoping that they get picked off, because you just want them to shut the hell up. I really want to make mention to one guy in particular, who's sort of this young hip-hop gangster wannabe. He freestyle raps. He constantly talks. And he is just so irritating, it's unreal. Hands down, the most annoying cast I think I've ever seen in a horror film. The gore is unfortunately pretty minimal. We don't really get too much at all, really. The bits that we do get are a bit cheap and a bit rushed, and then a lot of it is just quick cuts away. It's a shame, really. I expected a little bit more for something with this title, to be honest. As for how this film's put together, it's not the most incompetent. Some of the shots are quite nice. There's some nice like wide shots, some good desert shots. It uses the sun quite nicely in parts. Unfortunately though, the whole film is overly saturated and tinted with this horrible orange. And it's just so ugly to look at. It's so ugly. So you've got this horrible orange tint, you've got these annoying as fuck characters, and then on top of all that, you've got this early 2000s drum and bass soundtrack blasting you in the face. Not gonna lie, about halfway through this, I was definitely getting a headache.
You goddamn right! You fuck with my bitches! You fuck with me, yeah!
We're not your bitches!
Time to feed.
Feed on this motherfucker!
This is 100%, without a doubt, Millennium trash. From the soundtrack to the oversaturation, the misogyny and homophobia, the awful airhead characters, the bizarre music video-esque editing. A dude has frosted tips in it. This is the quintessential early 2000s Millennium trash bullshit. This is the sort of thing that MTV thought all their target demographic was, the teenagers in this film. It is the early 2000s encapsulated 100%. Maybe it's lacking a little bit of the gothic angst of some of the other ones that we've watched, but this just, it screams 2003 for me. It couldn't be more 2003. So, The Hills Have Eyes. This is definitely a rip-off of The Hills Have Eyes. But while I was watching it, I was thinking, this is a direct rip-off of the remake. And it might be because of that little bit of Millennium trash funk that was wafting around. But, funnily enough, the remake of Hills Have Eyes came out in 2006. Now, this was technically finished in 2002, but they struggled to find distribution for it. And eventually it got its name changed to sound a little bit more like something like Wrong Turn. But Wrong Turn didn't come out until after this did. So weirdly, it's not really the knockoff that you'd think it is. It's definitely some sort of Hills Have Eyes 77, is it 77? 70s Hills Have Eyes bootleg, but not the early 2000s horrors that you'd expect it to be, which is weird. And lastly, before we go, it is definitely worth mentioning that this is an early Asylum film. Now, I'm surprised I haven't brought these up on the channel yet. This is the first The Asylum film that I'm actually covering. For those who don't know, I'm sure most of you know, but for those who don't know, The Asylum became popular in the early 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, for releasing knockoff versions of popular films straight to video. Films like Transmorphers, when Transformers came out, or The Da Vinci Treasure, I think it's called, and The Da Vinci Code came out. And they sort of became synonymous with this quick cash grab knockoff bullshit. Then, in the mid-2010s, or mid to early 2010s, they released Sharknado, and then they became synonymous with these big, dumb, stupid, bullshit, like, crazy films like Sharknado and Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, or something like that, you know. And that's sort of, the Sci-Fi Channel late night bullshit is sort of where they ended up landing. But this is a really early example, and on their Wikipedia page it lists all the films, and there's even a column for the film that it is knocking off, that it's ripping off. This one doesn't have a direct rip-off, but it definitely feels like a cheap, bootleggy Asylum film.
Drinking protein shakes and hitting the gym and shit. Watch, check this shit out, yo.
Oh, wow! Diesel. What else you...
Okay, time for the print then, and it's in 16:9, which is nice for a change. A lot of these have been in 4:3 recently, so it's nice to have a full screen. But it is pretty blurry and low quality, and then you mix that with the oversaturation and orange tint, and it does make a lot of things hard to make out. Things like gore and stuff, they just sort of get lost in pixels, unfortunately. While I didn't notice any major issues, there wasn't any like big flickers or glitches or anything like that, and the audio was pretty clear, it is still pretty terrible to look at, to be honest. I don't know if it was just shot that way, because mini DV and all that. It looks mini DV. Definitely won't film anyway. And on the disc, we get the usuals: chapter select, trailer for this, Hard Gore trailers. Now, but we also get some special features. We get a 17.5 minute long behind the scenes featurette, which includes talking heads, actors dicking about, and a ton of pervy director stuff. But you know, looks like they had fun. It's nothing that I'm that interested in seeing. And we get an 11-minute audition tape, which, I mean, the acting's not great in this anyway, and watching the auditions of the actors for these characters just sort of highlights how crap they are. But again, looks like they had fun. I definitely didn't. And lastly on this disc, it's listed on the back that there's an Easter egg. Now at first I thought maybe that was just a little singular outtake at the end of the credits. But no, I had to go back downstairs, put the disc back in and search around the menus. There is something hidden on this. It's in one of the eyes on the special features menu. Like the eyes of the face that's looking at you. So what is this Easter egg that I had to go looking for? Well, it's a 72-second clip called The Most Annoying 24 Seconds Ever Put on Film or something like that. And it is 24 seconds of the irritating gangster wannabe kid saying yo, and then it's 40 odd seconds of just a black screen. So glad I looked for that. Cheers. Why is it always the annoying films that I don't actually like that have special features? This seems to be a running trend for this collection.
Yo, 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 yo.
Okay then, time for the case. This bit of text on the front is just a complete word salad. What are you even saying here? And the cover art is super, super trashy. Looks like the bootleg Friends cast ended up in Hills Have Eyes. One of the worst covers we've seen in a while by far. The back isn't too bad though, not massive on the font, it makes some letters a little weird to look at, but the blurb reads alright, the runtime's correct as well, which is nice. Yeah, nicer back than front for this one, I'd say. Once again, we have another catalogue on the inside. These have definitely been more consistent recently. Overall then, I mean, this is not a good film. Of course it's not a good film. You've seen the clips, you've heard me talk. This is a bad film. Sure, it maintains a level of energy and it doesn't really have that long, boring section that most of these films generally do. But it's just a knockoff of a much better film, and it has some of the worst characters I have ever seen in a film in my life. Avoid it, don't watch it, watch Hills Have Eyes instead. That's a good film. Hell, watch Wrong Turn, watch the Hills Have Eyes 2006 remake. All better than this piece of shit. If for some weird reason you are in the market, this or the Shriek collection is kinda your lot, really. And I'm guessing it's the exact same print, which isn't great. So even more excuse for you not to get it. Don't bother with it, it's bad. So, Awful one this episode, and it ain't gonna get much better because next episode we are sticking in the asylum. Lucky us. Next episode we're taking a look at Vampires vs. Zombies.